Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, now joined by the best radio duo in the city by a mile. You can catch them Monday through Friday, 7 through 9 on 104.9, 94.9, Channel 4 on your HD dial. The great Justin Spears, the venerable Ollie Farhang. How are you both doing today?
Fantastic. First of all, 1490 AM. 94.9.
Yeah, well, yeah, I apologize on that one. Shoot, I did not have that. I apologize. My fault right there. Got off. So, on that note, also, Justin Spears, beat writer for the Arizona Daily Star. Find all of his work. Listen, I believe that Justin was the good luck charm that Arizona football needed. I don't think it's a coincidence. Justin takes over as the beat writer, one of the best seasons in school history. I'm just putting it out there. Check out all of his work, obviously. And Ollie Farhang, I don't even know what to say about Ollie. He's got about 10 billion different things. Come to find out, he's also got a summer home in Tahoe as well. So, Ollie, what don't you do? How about that?
What don't I do? I don't know, man. I try not to suck. I guess that's my it's a constant daily grind of taking it day by day of not sucking. So hopefully it's working out. I got a question for you, Mike Luke.
Yeah.
To start things off. You guys got a great intro, a lot of great PHNX, Phoenix-based athletes is part of your intro, and it's missing somebody. How can you not have Rod Tidwell, one of the greatest players in Cardinal history, off the movie Jerry Maguire?
Literally, and how is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s face not somewhere in there, like front and center? I totally agree with you, man. You know what? I'm gonna have to write that down as a note. We're gonna find out. We're gonna get to the bottom of this, Ollie.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. It's like the mantra of Justin Spears at the Arizona Daily Star. Brett Farah Daily has to hear a barrage of "Show me the money, Brett."
Show me the money, Brett. I love it, love it, love it. All right, now guys, football season is here. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I mean, it's not like there's a beat writer there or anything that might know about it. Guys, I want to get your first take. What are the 2 or 3 points that you are just looking for from this season? Whether it's expectations, players, what are you guys looking for? Justin, Ali, and I will let you guys go.
Well, I think that, this could be a magical season for a number of reasons. And, going into the Big 12, right, there's a lot of excitement there because it's a new conference. You're going to be going up against newer teams that have very passionate fan bases. Arizona going on the road, the days of playing in a half-empty Stanford Stadium, those are in the past. You're going to be playing against a rowdy crowd at Kansas State in Manhattan. And then, later on, you still got to go to Utah, former Pac-12 team that sells out Rice-Eccles Stadium every single game. BYU, even when the team is dog water, they figure out a way to still support their team and rally around them. And then, Texas Tech, even though they're coming here, I think that fan base is going to be awesome to see. And, going on the road and playing TCU and going across the country as well. The one cool thing that's, in the Big 12 is that it's spans across 4 different time zones. So Arizona, when they're playing on the road against UCF, it's going to be kicking off in the middle of the afternoon over here in Tucson, Arizona. So there's going to be fewer and fewer Pac-12 or Big 12 after dark moments, which I'm very excited about. And, I think that with this Arizona football team, they have the opportunity to do something that not a lot of Arizona teams have done in the past, which is build on a successful season. Mike, you know about this, 98 to 99. Think about that drop off. Or even, we were talking about, 2009 to 2010, that era, or 2014 to 15. Arizona football traditionally doesn't really have 2 successful seasons like a 10-win season. So with Noah Fifita, T-Mac, the leaders that they brought back for this year's team, can they replicate the similar magic that they had last season? And can they do it with a new coach in Brent Brennan?
Ollie?
Yeah, I mean, Justin covered it very well, and I think that sometimes as Arizona fans, we feel like the Wile E. Coyote. I mean, the Roadrunner's right there, and we're about to eat, and next thing you know, we're like walking on air, and an anvil falls on our head. So I am cautiously optimistic. The biggest thing for me is this roster, the way it's composed. It has the talent. The coaching staff is very good. The best ability is availability, and football is a game of attrition. Can Arizona stay healthy? And if they can, then they're going to be vying for the Big 12 championship, and they're going to be vying for a spot in the college football playoff. And I know this is not sexy, and we talked about this on the show today a little bit, but special teams matter. Then you got Tyler Loop, a kicker, and he's a really good kicker. But the punting game, who is going to be that punter? Because punting can flip that field, and it can be really important from a field position standpoint. So to me, it's the battle of attrition, and it's special teams, especially at the punting position.
And guys, tell me if I'm wrong here. I probably am. I generally am. But I have a hard time, when I look at Brent Brennan, I've said this a few times, I have a hard time seeing him fall flat on his face. Listen, I don't know. Is the guy Nick Saban? Probably not. But when you look at his track record, when you look at the talent, I can't see this being a hire where you look back in 4 years and you're like, oh my God, that was, what were we thinking there? I think at the very least, honestly, this feels like, I feel like his basement is like a B- hire. It just feels like a safe hire, and that's why I'm optimistic about the talent that he's got, because there's a lot to like about him, what he's been able to do, and he's got talent for the first time, fellas.
And much better talent than he had at San Jose State. And even when he was at San Jose State,
no disrespect
to the Spartans, right? Yeah. But you know, when it's hard to recruit to San Jose State, and it's hard to win 7+ games with the Spartans, and he did it in back-to-back seasons. He even took them to a Mountain West championship. That's really hard to do at a place like San Jose. So now that he's got the resources, now that he's got the talent, you know, we're going to see Brent Brennan really coach to his full potential. And, you know, he's coming into a situation where he's got a little bit of pressure. He doesn't have the runway to rebuild Arizona. They're going to have to win at least 8 games in order for this to be considered a successful season, in my opinion. And this is a very important year for him, because even if you lose essentially your entire roster next season, when T-Mac and Jonas Ivinea and Takario Davis, even Noah Fifita, you know, he could turn pro after this year. There's a possibility that this entire roster is going to get blown up after this year. But if you're able to replicate what you did last season, you have some success, you can carry that into the offseason. You have something to show recruits of how promising Arizona football can be, and not just for high school recruits, but also in the transfer portal too. You could show them you can come out to Arizona. We have a winning culture, and Arizona football can be a nationally relevant program. And you know what's working for Brent Brennan this year is that I think the schedule is very favorable for Arizona.
I agree.
You know, you don't got to face the Oklahoma States, the Iowa States, the Kansas of the world. Yeah, you got really, you know, 2 tough teams in Kansas State, which is a non-conference game, and Utah on the road in Salt Lake City. But beyond those games in the front half of the schedule, Arizona should be favored in every contest throughout the way. And if you get to the Big 12 championship, and in a one game, you know, in a high intensity game where you're going to be, you know, vying for a spot in the college football playoff, if Arizona is able to win the Big 12 championship, they have a bye in the CFP. And Arizona in the expanded 12-team college football playoff, possibility of playing in the Rose Bowl, like this, the sky's the limit for this year's Arizona team. And I really think that if they're able to get to a really good bowl game, win some games, and have another successful season, then I think Brent Brennan is going to hit the ground running, and that's really going to set himself up for the future. And, you know, the good news about, you know, Brent Brennan, if he has a successful season, he ain't going anywhere.
Right.
No matter
exactly
who comes knocking, who gives him a contract offer, he loves Arizona, and he's going to be here for as long as possible.
I just knocked on. Yeah, I mean, I think with Brent comes a level of sincerity that we haven't seen for quite a while from an Arizona football head coaching perspective. And the biggest barometer of what kind of head coach you are to me is what kind of staff you put around you. There are some head coaches that they don't want anybody. They want to be the smartest guy in the room, right? And they don't necessarily put the best staffs underneath them. Brent Brennan has brought in some great coaches around him. The positional coaches, the offense and defensive coordinator, top notch. To me, that's indicative of a really good head football coach. And I think, like I said, it's a battle of attrition. If this team remains healthy throughout the year, We're not going to be the Wile E. Coyote this year. We have a real chance, and I'm really excited. I mean, I don't think we've had this level of excitement for Arizona football since maybe 1998.
Yeah, all right. Now, one thing I'm going to put out there, and again, one of the things that I have been right on is Noah Fifita. I would have started Noah Fifita before the season last year. I bother less from time to time, and he's always like, oh, well, you really saw something there. Well, no, I didn't see this, so I'm not giving myself credit for that. But I do not care what anybody says. There's not a quarterback in the country that I would take over Noah Fifita, Justin Ollie. There is just not. I'm not taking Beck over him. I'm not taking Shadur over him. And here's why I'm not doing any of that stuff. First of all, and Justin, you were up close watching this. You know this better than anybody. When the chips are down and the game is close, there's nobody I want with the ball over Noah Fifita. He's got a calmness about him. He has got a ability to be able to command the huddle. He can make the throws. And if the guy is open, and I always think about this, a wide receiver's dad mentioned this to me one time. He said, my son gets open, he's going to get the ball. It's that simple. That's the best thing that a quarterback can do, and he wins. I mean, let's be honest. Last year, Jaden DeLora, not a bad quarterback, but that team was headed towards a 5-win season if he's in there the whole time. Whereas Noah Fifita comes in, you get 10 wins, and you wonder what could have been. Guys, I don't care what anybody says. I would take Noah Fifita over anybody in the country. Am I wrong? Am I right? What say you guys?
Man, I mean, there's a lot of great quarterbacks in college football. And I think Dylan Gabriel, he's going to do a lot of great things at Oregon, especially with the weapons that he has up in Eugene. But no, you're right, Mike. And he's a winning quarterback. He showed that in his first game. I mean, really the first meaningful snaps that Noah Fifita played at Arizona. He was taking over for the injured Jaden DeLora. And Arizona, they were going to lose that game to Stanford. And the Wildcats were 20-point favorites. And they were, even though they had, a spark in the first half and there was that touchdown by Tanner McLaughlin, Stanford really had Arizona's number in that game. And the thing that really just frustrated me the most about watching Jaden DeLora was he would improvise and he would be a liability. And then he would do things that you're not taught as a quarterback, like constantly drifting back into this abyss in the pocket. Yes. And he just kept falling back. And even Jed Fish was like, he's not taught that. I don't know where he learned that from. That's something that we need to work on. And then Noah Fifita came in, was very sharp. Did he throw the game-winning touchdown pass? No, but he orchestrated a brilliant drive that was capped off by a Jonah Coleman touchdown. And, oh, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but apparently everyone who built Arizona last year is now at Washington, according to Jonah Coleman. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy to me. But going back to my original point, those first two games that Noah started, he went up against the national runner-up team in Washington, and then he went up against a top 10 team in USC. And, if Jed Fish knew the overtime rules, maybe Arizona beats USC in that game on the road. But from that point forward, Arizona did not lose a single game. And even in the moments where Noah Fifita struggled, he still played winning football. I always go back to that game on the road against Colorado. Yep. Noah struggled. I mean, he really did. And Jaden DeLora, give him a credit. He was kind of the whisperer on the sideline that kept Noah calm. But in that fourth quarter, who was it that led Arizona down the field to have Tyler Loop set up for a walk-off field goal? It was Noah Fifita. And now that he's got a year under his belt as the starter, I really think that Noah Fifita will be considered one of the top quarterbacks in college football. And he would be considered in that conversation if he was just a few inches taller. I truly believe that if he wasn't a 5'10", 5'11" quarterback, then he would be considered a potential NFL prospect.
Ollie, I see you agreeing with the great Justin Spears.
Yeah, I mean, it's the talent on the field is unquestionable from what we saw last year, but I'm going to take it a step further. The character and the manner in which Noah Fifita has embraced our community and the University of Arizona, to me, he's on the precipice of, if this season at least emulates last year, if we're actually in a Big 12 championship game, and man, if we're in the college football playoff, years from now, when all of us are old and doing podcasts with, you guys are going to have less hair than me.
We're going to be talking not possible.
No, I have clippers. We're going to be talking about, don't fall asleep around me. We're going to be talking about Noah Fifita in the same way we talk about Steve Kerr and Sean Elliott. I'm going to go that far. Because of the whole package, not just the talent on the field.
Well, just look at it from this perspective. I'm going to argue a debate the great Spears here for a little bit. I don't think he's anywhere near 5'10". I think he's about 5'8". To be honest with you,
Spears. Mike. Spears says he's 5'10", he's 5'7". So all he's doing is he's trying to ascribe more height to Noah because somehow that'll make him 5'10".
Well, to give you an idea, I was standing next to Noah at Media Day, and a couple people came up to me, and I'm like 5'8" and a quarter, 5'8" and a half at the most, and they're like, "Dude, you were taller," which just to me adds to the story, to be honest with you, just how amazing he is. But just look at this: let's just say 5'8". So you got a 5'8" quarterback comes to the U of A and brings all of his buddies with him, obviously, because he's a leader of men. I mean, when you look up leader of men in the dictionary, you see Noah Fifita, and he comes in, and this first year. Red shirts. Then the second year, you can clearly tell that Jedd Fisch didn't want to play him for whatever reason. Noah Fifita could have thrown for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he would say, well, I just don't think that he could have done it without Jaden on the sideline. It was like every single press conference. He would leave with Jaden. I mean, you know that, Justin. Yep. And so then the coach leaves. Everybody's like, well, these guys are going to go cash in, and they all stay. And I think where it's a little bit different, there's a guy like T-Mac, he's getting taken care of, obviously. He's going to be off in the NFL. The thing that's interesting about Noah is Noah's got a couple years to be able to build this thing as well. And just the thing about seeing a guy that looks that stature, that can do what he does, guys, it's just, I don't know that there's a cooler story in all of college football, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, and think about it, fellas. I mean, there's a lot of change happening in college football, whether it's realignment, the House settlement that's getting filed with the court today, NIL, transfer portal. And the nostalgia around college football in particular is this pageantry of sports, which was a total lie, promulgated by administrators who wanted to not pay the players and keep all the money for themselves. But even with that change, when you talk about the beauty of college football, like this is a great story at the University of Arizona with what you mentioned, Mike, with all these guys staying and embracing the community. And I think it's one of the best stories in college football today. And man, if this team can just do it, and we're not walking on air and the anvil doesn't fall on our head and we do the banana peel, we don't slip on that. Like sometimes us Arizona fans, we're just waiting for it. If we can just get to the Big 12 championship and win it and go to the college football playoff, it's the coolest story in college football.
If that were to happen, Ollie, I think that you need to honestly make Justin a partner at your law firm, honestly, because 2 straight years, beat writer, historical run for the U of A. I'm just saying, the man on the show, that's some good luck right there. How about this? I don't know how you would put that in there. You could come up with a good title, but yes, Justin Spears, partner.
I'm going to actually make a trophy. It's going to be called MVW, and I'm going to make a big ceremony of awarding Justin the most valuable writer in the country.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And at that point, Justin will admit in front of a live studio audience that he is an Arizona football fan.
Oh, yeah, going with the Bruce Pascoe. I respect it. All right, we agree on no. Let's sorry, Justin. Go ahead for a second.
No, I was going to add that, with Noah Fifita and Tetairoa McMillan, the best part about this story is that they listened to Jedd Fisch. And not by going to Washington and following him there, they listened to Jedd Fisch because rather than chase the money, rather than chase the NIL check, they decided to stay loyal. And now they have an opportunity to have a great season. And then T-Mac is going to go into the NFL and carve out a 10-year NFL career. I remember the last thing that Jedd Fisch said as head coach of the Arizona Wildcats after the Alamo Bowl is he said, why would you chase the money? Stay here and you can carve out a 10-year NFL career. Don't go chase the NIL money. You have the opportunity to be a part of a top 10 team next year and go to the CFP. Why would I want to be anywhere else? And then Jedd Fisch goes to Washington. And then T-Mac and Noah, they're like, you know what, Jedd? You're right. Why would we want to leave? We are legends in Tucson. People love us, and we have the opportunity to do something that hasn't been done at Arizona, and that's contend for a national championship.
I do
Why
love
is the word sanctimonious in my head every time you mention our former coach's name? It's weird.
Did you guys see him at the Big Ten Media Day where he kept referring to we with Washington? We've beat Oregon the last 2 times. We beat Texas. No, Coach, you have not beat them. That is not true. Yeah. We will not let that slide on this show. Okay, now with Tetairoa McMillan. All right, Justin Spears guy. We like giving Spears crap in the press box because we like making up that Justin one time said McMillan isn't good. He never said that, but it's still fun to give him a
What?
Yeah.
It's fun to we're like every time T-Mac makes it a ridiculous catch, man, Spears got to be surprised by that one. But no, that's just
And it's funny, every time T-Mac did something well, Mike or Shear, whoever, they would like look at me in the press box like, you see that?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yes,
Unbelievable. I thought you just got the guff here.
No.
You get it in the press box from those guys too?
It's everywhere.
Oh, man.
No, it's everywhere. But joking aside, Teteroa McMillan. This is there's dudes that come through here that are just totally different. Where every 8, 9, 10 years, you just look and you're like, dude, that dude is like nobody else. That is Teteroa McMillan to a T. He looks like he's healthy. He said that he expects to have a big year this year. Guys, enjoy this last year while you can because this is the best wide receiver in school history.
Yeah, get your season tickets now. I mean, can you guys remember the last time? Because T-Mac, if you remember, was going to go to Oregon. And then Cristobal went to Miami, Noah Fifita, and some of the other guys, Jacob Manu, kind of able to get T-Mac here. And he's like a, 4 or 5 star guy. And he was highly touted. And he's not only met all expectations, I would suggest he's exceeded them.
Yeah.
When's the last time Arizona football had a very highly touted guy that actually came in and delivered what we thought? Because I'm thinking of like a guy like Lewis Holmes, right? He was defensive end. We got him from
Lewis
USC
Holmes.
instead of Arizona.
Right.
And he was good, but not exactly what we were expecting. Is there a guy you can think of that came in as highly touted for football that met, if not exceeded, expectation?
Gronk?
No, because he wasn't.
But Gronk was hurt in that last year.
And
But
he
was
wasn't as
still-
highly touted as T-Mac.
not like T-Mac.
I'm
but-
talking about like a 5 star. We got a 4 or 5 star guy. We got him over USC. We got him over Oregon. He's awesome.
The guy that I would probably go with, and this is a little bit before recruiting rank, Chris McAllister. McAllister to me is I consider McAllister probably the best player that I've, of age been able to see. He could have gone anywhere, obviously, but he was an academic case too, where he couldn't get into certain schools. But yeah, no, that's a great point. And the fact is, Kadeem's an interesting one, but Kadeem was kind of the mid-level 4-star. He wasn't he wasn't considered uber elite like, a Bijan Robinson, Justin Spears. By the way, another thing that Spears smoked me on, by the way. I thought that I didn't see Bijan being better than Kadeem. I was wrong. Justin Spears spiking the football in my face. Dare I say, spearing the football in my face. How about that? But
love it.
But no, that's
inside information. That was you got that one wrong, man. That's okay. We get these things wrong, especially when we're on the air and we're gonna say things that are wrong if we talk long enough, right?
Well, I do. Well, either way, that's why Justin Spears is collecting dubs. Mike Luke. Not only does the last name begin with an L, it also has L's in it right now with Justin Spears.
Yeah, but Mike Luke wasn't the one that's saying T-Mac was overrated and not going to be that good. I mean,
that's going to be great when somebody comes up to Justin. You're like, dude, what was up with all the T-Mac hate, man? Justin never said that. It is just a friendly joke. Now, let's talk Duane Akina here. All right, Duane Akina, my friends. I love Duane Akina. I loved Duane Akina when he was here, and I always joke about with Shear. Shear didn't know who really Duane Akina was when he came back, and he's like, dude, I don't need another old white guy here that's not going to recruit. And I was like, oh, first of all, you're wrong on everything with that, and Shear has definitely come around. This dude just gets it. He understands people. He understands the good life. He doesn't really like Jed Fish much. I am excited to see what he can do, and you could just tell last year. I like Johnny Nansen. I think he did a pretty good job here, but just look at the defense. Look at how everything lined up with Duane Akina there. This dude's a treasure, and I'm excited to see what he can do with the full reins of the defense, fellas.
Yeah, Duane Akina is a defensive back whisperer. Mm-hmm. He did it when he was at Arizona, coaching guys like Chris McAllister, all the other players that were in the Desert Storm defense. And then, he goes over to Texas and has a bunch of great cornerbacks. And I think he coached 4 Jim Thorpe Award winners, which is a pretty damn good resume for
13 first-round picks.
Think about that. And the one thing that was very impressive about Duane Akina last year with Arizona was, there was a collaborative effort on Arizona's defense and how they schemed and matched up against opponents. And, The one example that I always think about of Duane Akina being just so brilliant was in that game against Washington State. Cam Ward, the Cougars, they drive down the field, no problem. They score a touchdown. You're like, okay, this might be a long game for Arizona. And then from that point forward, Duane Akina is like, you know what? We're going to release the double flex Eagle defense or the double Eagle flex defense. And they had another linebacker out there in Jeremy Mercer, who was kind of like a quarterback spy. And from that point forward, they didn't allow any points. Washington State got completely shut out. So that kind of tweaking, that was introduced by Duane Akina going back to his days coaching in the CFL. He brought that to Arizona, coaching in the CFL. And then I think the dollar package defense, that was a Johnny Nansen thing that he brought in his first year at Arizona. But the one move that I thought was brilliant by Duane Akina was putting Martell Irby from defensive back to the other linebacker spots, because, Arizona, they had two young freshman linebackers in Tay Brown, Kamawila Kaihu, still, getting their sea legs, if you will. Justin Flo would get lost in pass coverage. So Arizona needed a physical athlete to be out there to cover passes and be able to do a little bit of everything. And Martell Irby was perfect at that. So putting a guy who used to play running back and then moved to defensive back and then putting in a linebacker, and he was so impactful for Arizona last year, I think that says a lot about Duane Akina's ability to spot talent and adjust. And it's going to be interesting to see what he could do this year with the secondary, but I'm really curious to see how that defensive line looks under Duane Akina and defensive line coach Joe Ciamalu.
I thought Martell Irby was the unsung hero of the Alamo Bowl and could have been the MVP because he made a lot of big plays in that game. But, end of the day, I think it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. I mean, you could put me and Justin in a double flex with you at the next, the extra linebacker, Mike, and we're not stopping Oklahoma or Washington State. But, Duane Akina has got a charisma to him. He's got a track record to him that players of the highest caliber, they're like, you know what? If I play for this guy, he's going to put me in a position to succeed and maybe help me get to where my dreams are. Right. So it's not so much the X's and O's matter, especially when you have good players, but good players matter more. And Duane Akina has just got the personality to attract good players. And I'll tell you, this coaching staff, I really like Rich Rod's staff. I thought there was a lot of good dudes on that staff. I enjoyed hanging out with them. This is one of the most likable football staffs that we've had at Arizona since I think maybe early Rich Rod, Dick Tomey days.
Yeah, I think with this now, let's talk about some positions and some where we're interested in, battles and whatnot. Then let's stay on the defensive side of the football. Justin just brought it up about, what they were able to do with Martell Irby. I think you've got some questions at that linebacker spot, obviously next to Jacob Manu. You've got a plethora of really good safeties on this roster. Would you guys like to see Genesis Smith kind of in that role from time to time next to Jacob Manu? Because I would.
Yeah, in Genesis, I actually ran several simulations on EA Sports College Football 25, and the video game loves Genesis Smith leading the Arizona in tackles. So Genesis Smith is expected to have a big-time season this year, and I would love to see Traydon Stukes move to the second cornerback spot, and then you put Genesis at that nickelback, or they're calling it star now.
Right.
Because, one thing about Duane Akina is there are no labels for the defensive backs. Yes, we look at Gunnar Maldonado and Dalton Johnson as the safeties. Jacario Davis, he's the cornerback. But when you come to Arizona, you're going to be training as a defensive back. Everyone can move around anywhere. And Arizona, they're going to do their best to put the 5 best players in that defensive secondary. And I think that combination with Genesis Smith and Traydon Stukes, you got to have that in your secondary. And I think that will be Arizona's defensive backs at some point this season.
I think you may see a lot of that nickel, dime, quarter dollar package because the Big 12, from what I've been watching the last few years, is a pretty wide open league. I mean, you don't see a lot of 2 tight end ground and pound sets in that league. So you're going to need that extra defensive back that can go in the box, make a tackle when they need to, and also play pass coverage. So I think it plays perfectly in the hands of Arizona against the competition they're going to have in the conference. And, from the other linebacker perspective, I think this is the year for Justin Flo to put him in a position to succeed. And for me, I think, Justin Flo, with his ability, you simplify it as much as possible. Put him in situations where he's blitzing from the middle. Maybe put him on the edge once in a while, rushing the quarterback. See ball, get ball. Right. You make it that make it that clean for Justin Flo, I think you're going to see a lot more production out of him.
And I do believe that with Duane Akina, if they can make it work with Justin Flo, he's going to make it work. Because like Justin said, there's not, I mean, even with the DBs, there's not really a set position. He's going to try to get football players on the field. Now, let's talk a little bit about the defensive line. That was one of the strengths of Arizona last year, is that you had an assembly line of players that, you could bring in, you could bring in a Sione, you could bring in a Tyler Manoa, you could bring in a Kangaika, a Tia Savea, et cetera, et cetera. Gone were the days where it looked like Justin Spears and myself were lining up next to Parker Zellers.
Right.
But I like the start. I like the defensive tackle depth. I do like with Chuba, obviously we lost BBN, Big Bill Norton, which is I think a culture loss as well. But I think it will be fine. Isaiah Johnson, and I love Kevon Darton, who we're going to get in. I think Kevon Darton's going to start eventually. All ACC performer, 5 sacks. I'm pretty good with the depth. I do worry a little bit about the depth on the edges, though. I like Trey Smith. I like Ty Ty. I'm a little concerned about the depth on the edges. What say you guys?
Yeah, I think that defensive end will be something to monitor, especially in training camp, because the Wildcats are losing Isaiah Ward, Russell Deuce Davis are now at Washington, and then Taylor Upshaw. Taylor came in from Michigan/Colorado. Right. And, he was productive at Michigan. And, he comes into Arizona, leads the team in sacks, had the most sacks by a Wildcat since, I think, Kylan Wilborn in 2017. So it had been a while since Arizona was able to get to the quarterback, and Taylor Upshaw was good in that department. But I think that they got a really good one in Trey Smith, who is a guy who was underrated coming out of, I think, Red Mountain High School up in Phoenix, went to San Jose State, played for a couple of seasons, has, a couple of years of weightlifting under his belt, and he's only getting bigger. He's very athletic off the edge and was an all Mountain West performer last year. And then I really love the addition of Kevon Darton, who I think is going to be more of like a 3 technique, but he's athletic enough to where you could put him on the outside. And Taitai Uiagalelei is kind of the same way. So they have a few defensive linemen that they can move all around. And I think that this D line, even though they're losing 9 scholarship guys from a year ago, I think that this unit could surprise a lot of people because, like last year, Arizona went out into the transfer portal and they coupled the guys from the portal with the developing guys who have been playing for the last couple of years. And you're starting to see that now. You got guys coming in from the portal, and then you have some players that didn't get a lot of publicity or didn't get a lot of playing time, like Isaiah Johnson. We haven't really seen him get a lot of action, but he played some meaningful snaps in the middle of the season last year, and the coaches are raving about this guy. And one thing I will tell Arizona fans, people are going to look at the stats. They're going to look at the numbers. They're going to be like, really? These guys are going to come in and impact? Bill Norton didn't do squat at Georgia, and he came in and was arguably Arizona's best defensive lineman. So don't rag on these guys because they don't have the numbers to go along with your optimism. I think Arizona's defensive line is going to be just fine this year.
Yeah, as much as I think it's not talked about enough that one of the strengths of this team is the offensive line, I think the defensive line is the biggest question. And, we just haven't seen a lot of these guys play. I mean, the names are there and there's some guys with some accolades coming in, but we just haven't seen it. So it's going to be interesting. And this is where I'm kind of going with Justin Flo on passing downs. Why not line up Flo on the outside and just be like, go rush the quarterback, get there somehow.
Micah Parsons
type. So to me, linebacker I'm okay with. Defensive backfield really strong. Defensive line is what I'm really curious of asking Justin about and you about, Mike, when you guys go to camp and watch and then during games, like where's our defensive line going to be? Because if that's a strong unit, then defensively for Arizona to be where we all want them to be at the end of the year, Arizona just needs to be somewhere in the middle to top middle of defenses in the Big 12 because the offense, barring attrition, is going to carry it.
Yeah. All right. And I will say this, Mike, one thing that I paid attention to in the spring that will be a little bit different with this year's Arizona team is the amount of blitzing from both the linebackers and defensive backs.
Awesome.
I saw a lot of Dalton Johnson, a lot of Traydon Stukes coming off the edge, getting to the quarterback, making plays behind the line of scrimmage. And Jacob Manu's got a knack for getting to the quarterback and the football. He's got a way where he can get skinny and get between the offensive linemen and break free and make plays behind the line of scrimmage. And Danny Gonzalez, he is a guy who's going to deploy his linebackers, and he's going to blitz a lot, which is good news for a guy like Justin Flo.
It's funny, guys. People just don't know what they're talking about. I remember when we recruited Jacob Manu, who's like a little shorter in stature,
Sawed off.
but he
sawed
made a
off.
lot of tackles at Servite, and it's like, well, we're recruiting him because we want to get Noah Fifita and T-Mac and the rest of the guys at Servite. The guy's a good football player, man. Just makes plays, and he made them from the moment he stepped on this campus. Jacob Manu is like one of those linebackers that's going to be in the pantheon of the Antonio Pierces, Lance Briggs, Sean Harris. I'm sure I'm missing guys, but we're going to remember
Marcus
Jacob
Bell,
one of the best linebackers in Arizona. Yeah, one of the best linebackers in Arizona football history.
All right, now here's my Del Taco special, a little bit under the radar player that, and by the way, Del Taco has been named the best fast food restaurant going now, taking over Chick-fil-A. We take credit on this show, by the way. We take credit. Okay. Kenny Dillingham, I don't know if you guys saw the video. I brought Kenny Dillingham a Del Taco cheeseburger. He very much liked it.
So tell me real quick, Mike, I've never had it, so I'm going to do it because you've really been promoting it. This double bacon cheeseburger at Del Taco. Legit, huh?
The double Del. It's amazing. It's really, really good. Many people are, I was going to say, I say it's got about an 85 to 90% hit rate. And again, it's not filet mignon. I get it, but it's very, very good. But here's my Del Taco special, though. Malachi Riley is going to be the breakout player on the whole team. Malachi Riley is, I'm saying right now, I'm putting down the gauntlet. I'm saying that Malachi Riley is going to emerge as a really, really good number 2. And he's going to be somebody that at this time next year, we're talking about him as the number 1 receiver on the team. I love Malachi Riley. I am a huge Malachi Riley fan. Am I being stupid?
No, not at all, man. I think that he is the guy who is going to step in and be Arizona's 3rd wide receiver behind T-Mac and Montana Lamonia's Craig. And, it would not surprise me if when it's all said and done, he has more yards than MLC. Malachi was a highly rated prospect, or I wouldn't say highly rated, but if you look at his offers, some very impressive schools were going after Malachi Riley, and Arizona was able to get him to come to Tucson. And I think, stepping in that Jacob Cowing spot at slot receiver, I think that, Malachi could be in for a breakout year. And, the coaches were super high on him in the spring. Bobby Wade loves him. Same with Brent Brennan. And, Brent Brennan, he's got a history of coaching some really great wide receivers. So I think Malachi Riley will be in for a breakout year. But my Del Taco underrated player for Arizona this year is a guy who we call Das Gronk, Roberto Miranda, the tight end from Germany, who's going into his 5th season. He got a great story. He came to Arizona out of Germany, played football late in high school in Berlin.
Sumlin recruit, right?
Sumlin recruit. Yeah, He came. His first year was the 2020 season, which was Sumlin's last year. So he was recruited to Tucson out of Germany as a Sumlin recruit, and has just kind of been just there along for the ride, being a part of special teams. Was used primarily as a run blocking tight end last year. So anytime you saw number 85 in the game, you almost knew that Arizona was going to run the football. But this year in the spring, he has done such a great job of being a pass catching tight end. I'm not going to say he's the next Antonio Gates because he wears number 85, but expect a lot more receiving production out of Roberto Miranda. And I think he's probably Arizona's best blocker that's not an offensive lineman. So I'm really high on Roberto Miranda to have a breakout year.
This might not be unheralded, but my double Del player to watch this year is, I think the games are won in March and April in the weight room and in training, and that those win games in fall. And the work that Speedy Lucas put in the offseason, and I think how underused he was last year with the Wildcat team, finding different ways to get him the ball, special teams in the slot, swing passes, what have you. Every time Speedy Luke touches the ball, a big play is waiting to happen. So I want to see a lot more Speedy Luke. I think we're going to see a lot more Speedy Luke this year, and I think he's going to do big things.
Let me ask you guys this. I think we got to address the elephant in the room here that we haven't talked about. Circle K. Listen, here's the deal.
You're making a weight joke about Justin, and I'm like, that's not cool, Mike. That's not cool.
We would not. Now listen here. We got to talk about Circle K. Anyway, as long as Justin is making Justin time, we are good with that. Are you making Justin time, by the way?
Try my best.
All right. That's all we care about. But with Circle K, my friends, Ollie Farhang is part of the inner circle. This is true, Ollie Farhang.
It's true. I've got the app, and I was out of the country. I saw the big storm, what it did to one of the facades at Circle K.
Awful.
I think flags went half mast all across the country.
So here's the deal. I'm in South Lake Tahoe slumming it, but I am going to go up into Inkland Village, 18 miles away, because guess what there is there? There is a Circle K there, my friends. We back the K in every single avenue here. And join the inner circle like Ali for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. You know what I like about Circle K? It's for the people, by the people. You can find one that is on Grant and Oracle, or you can find one that is in the ritziest part of Tucson. Circle K for the people, by the people. Just like Justin Spears, the hardest working convenience store in the industry, along with the hardest working reporter in the industry. Very good stuff. Now,
one ask, because people on the inside of the K is bring back the Salditos at the counter, man.
I do like the Salditos. By the way, I got an inner circle hat that's coming that, dude, I don't think this thing will ever be detached from my head when I get it. I'm very excited about it. And one other one, Four Peaks, my friend. Now, the original Four Peaks, I dubbed a couple of years ago the U of A big men of Azulis Tabellis, Umar Ballo, leader of men, Dylan Anderson, and Henry Vasar, the Four Peaks. But the original Four Peaks is the beer. Kilt lifter, all kinds of very, very good stuff here. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest. Arizona's hometown brewery, must be 21 years or up. Enjoy responsibly. When I hang out down on University, I see the Four Peaks truck. It is like it's like one of those Amazon trucks. You just know it is loaded with good stuff.
Delicious. Really, they do a really great job.
Very, very good stuff. And our good friend behind the scenes, Shane Dievenbach, also very much likes Four Peaks as well. So again, check it out. Four Peaks, for the people, again, by the people. All right, now guys, let's get to I want to talk a little bit about the offensive line. I totally agree with what Ali said. I think this can be a real strength. I think there is one question mark, obviously. Listen, Jonas Avenea, you've done a great job reporting on him. Just how rare he is to a guy like that to come through here. A Wendell Moore. Josh Baker. I love Leif. I hope that Leif gets some real action this year, because I think that he's just a stabilizing force. That other spot's, I think, going to be interesting. And you got some interesting candidates. You got Polito. Polito's been hurt a lot, though, since he's been here. I'm very intrigued by Jonah Rodriguez coming in from San Diego State. Was a top 50 kid out of California as well. You're bringing in Michael Wooten. What do you guys, if they can solidify that fifth spot, then we're really cooking with something here, fellas.
Yeah, left tackle is interesting because Raymond Polito made that move at the Alamo Bowl last year. He went from right guard to playing left tackle, and I think he is a great option at left tackle. But like you said, Mike, he has been very inconsistent with his health. At the start of last season, he had the scooter/bike injury that kept him out at the start of the year. And then he comes back in against Stanford, injures his ankle, is out for another month. And in the spring, we've seen him deal with some leg injuries. So I think Raymond Polito, when he's healthy, is probably Arizona's second best offensive lineman behind Jonas Avianea. Maybe you can make an argument for Wendell Moy, but I think Raymond Polito is a very talented, promising prospect, but his health is so inconsistent. And so that's why I view the left tackle spot. While I think Raymond Polito could very well start there, and I think he's the best option that Arizona has, I think Josh Oglesby didn't really anoint him as the starter. I could see left tackle as a very competitive spot with guys like Michael Wooten and Jonah Rodriguez. And I also think right guard too. Leif Magnuson had some really good games last year when he was stepping in for Raymond Polito. He stepped in the Alamo Bowl and kind of helped that offensive line save the day, moving Big Jonah back at right tackle and putting him at guard. So I like Leif Magnuson, but you also have Alexander Doost coming in from Northwestern, who got some reps at both tackle and guard. And there's going to be some other players that are competing as well. But I think that Raymond Polito at left tackle, Leif Magnuson at right guard, those are probably the best options for Arizona. But I'm really curious to see how this offensive line pans out.
Mike, this is your show, but let me ask a question. I mean, are we sure that Jonas Avianea is not going to be moved to left tackle, and then you put Polito at right tackle and maybe have a guy like Rhino Tipatoa and all those transfers? I mean, doesn't Savianea just solidify the left side of that line?
I totally agree with you, to be honest with you, and I'm curious what Justin thinks about this as well. Just in my opinion, I'd put him at left tackle every single day of the week. Listen, first round picks don't come through here on the offensive line very often. I mean, we all know that very well. He's a different dude, and his position in the NFL is probably going to be tackle, although we can play guard as well. I'm not convinced that he doesn't end up being that left tackle. I think he's just incredibly rare. I think when you have a talent like that, you want to try to utilize him at the most high impact position. I agree with you, man. What say you, Justin?
Yeah,
Coach Spears.
I think Jonas Savianea is the best offensive lineman that they have, but isn't this a lot of shuffling? Isn't this too much shuffling for a guy like Big Jonah? Because he started at right guard last year. They moved him to right tackle. Does Arizona want to go through the process of having to teach Jonah playing left tackle? I'm not so sure. So,
I mean, it's the beginning of the year. We're going to training camp in 4 days. I mean, it's not like there's not time, and maybe he's been training. I just think, are we basing off what the line may look like based on last year? And do we not know what's happening behind the scenes, that maybe Jonah is getting some work at left tackle? And, it's kind of not that it's easier, but there's more. It makes more sense from a puzzle standpoint if you've got Savianea at left tackle, whether it's Polito at right tackle, if he's not able to stay healthy, Rhino at right tackle, Wooten, some of the transfers. It just, to me, it makes too much sense, because I think when you got a quarterback like Noah Fifita, you want to protect his blind side. So put your best offensive lineman at left tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to that at all. By the way, one other guy that I think is going to have a breakout year, I am calling it right now, Marquise Groves-Killebrew, my friend, on the defensive backs. Interesting story. Kid that was committed to Georgia, came here from Louisville, played with a hernia for the last 2 years. So the coaching staff, and he kept saying to people, he's like, I'm hurt. And this coaching staff found out that he had a hernia. They corrected it. I am intrigued to see what he can bring to the table as well. All right, now I'm going to ask you guys this. Justin, I know you're a Bruce Pascoe by the book reporter. That's why we very much like you, very much respect you. But I'm going to ask you this right now. How many wins for Arizona this year, my friend? And do you like the odds of them winning the conference?
I do. I have Arizona winning 10 games this year. I got Arizona 10-2.
10-2. All right. What say you, Ollie?
Well, I am fervently, zealously not media and not unbiased whatsoever. But I actually agree with Justin. I think it's a 10-2 season. If we can, stave off the battle of injury and keep most of our core healthy this year, this is as talented as a team as you're going to find, not just in the Big 12, but in the country.
I think those 2 losses are on the road at Utah. And I see that space game down in Orlando against UCF as another loss. And then from that point forward, Arizona will win the remainder of their schedule. And then Arizona, potential Big 12 championship team with a 10-2 record.
So we win in Manhattan.
Yeah,
against
I got
Kansas State, huh?
Kansas State.
All
Yep.
right.
You're going to be at that game, correct, Justin Spears?
I will. And to me, this is very similar to the Mississippi State game, where you're going into a rowdy environment. You're not going to have the cowbells, right, like at Kansas or at Mississippi State, but you're going to have a lot of people in Manhattan show up for this game. And it's so early in the season that I feel like, Arizona, they can come in and steal one against Kansas State. And with Noah Fifita as the leader, I think Arizona can win that game, because we all know if Noah Fifita was starting that game against Mississippi State last year, the Wildcats beat the Bulldogs. And last year when Arizona lost, it was like, oh, man, what a great loss. You go into SEC country and you had a great fight despite turning the ball 5 times. Mississippi State was awful last year. They were so bad. They were one of, if not the worst team in the SEC. So while at the time it looked like a good loss for Arizona, it turned out not to be. And I think Arizona with Noah Fifita will go in and beat Kansas State.
We lost that game because of perception and the environment, because it's an SEC team that came to Arizona. They were really good the year before. They were much better when they played us in Tucson. That game was lost based on not reality, just the environment and the perception of we thought they were good. And he's right. If Noah's starting that game, we win that game going away.
All right, we got to get to a bigger fish here before we sign off. Both of you guys, 2 big fishes right here. But first, no better time to become a PHNX diehard. Check it out. All kinds of good stuff. All kinds of merchandise. You can get in there. You can get all kinds of access. And heck, if you like me, go ahead there and hop in and become a PHNX diehard. All kinds of good stuff. All right, now, Ollie, The Snoop Bowl.
Like unlike other fishes, Mike, you did that with sincerity and straight face.
I know.
like
I
it.
did it with a very straight face. Yes, exactly.
And
Now,
honesty. Good for you.
let's Snoop Dogg, obviously in the news right now. You know, Ollie might have had some connections with Snoop Dogg. I don't know. Maybe kind of fill us in on what's going on there, my friend.
Well,
They smoked weed together back in law school.
yeah.
Yes.
And the next day I got an A on my my contract
How about
test. Yeah, it was great. I love that he is basically the host of the Olympics, and I think he's going to be a great ambassador for the United States and going to be great on TV. Make it really interesting to watch a lot of the different things in the Olympics. And then, you know, man, being affiliated with our town, you know, big things can happen in Tucson. Big things are possible. We need to stop thinking so small. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, man, Snoop's going to be here for like a week. He's going to be all over the place. We're going to have the Snooper Bowl, like a youth football, like a little game before the bowl game starts or the day before. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening starting in October in our community. And yeah, man, Snoop has adopted Tucson as one of his favorite places. And we're with him the next 3 years and hopefully for much longer.
No more Indo gin and juice. I'm on my way to Chino, rolling on the Grey Goose, shackled from head to toe, 24 with an Izzo, with nowhere to gizzo. I know. Murder was the case.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
mean,
Yes.
if you combine Clark Gable and Snoop Dogg, Mike, you nailed it.
That's essentially what we get. That's essentially what we get here. Now, Justin Spears, I will be hanging out with you in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. I will be up there as well. Very excited. But we got to give a big shout out here to Justin Spears. When I tell you that this is the man that the community needs to be the beat writer, I mean that. Nobody works harder than this guy, and I'm not kidding. When this dude works, I would bet Justin works 65 to 70-hour weeks. Even during the off season, he puts in the time. He's great at what he does. Absolutely give him a follow on Twitter. You should subscribe to the I'll let you put it out there, Justin, on it. But again, Justin Spears, the coolest working guy. And also from 7 to 9, 1490, 94.9 channel 4 on your HD dial. Spears and Ali, not the Spears and Ali show. We got to be very clear about that. Spears and Ali. But Justin, also a Heisman voter, by the way, Justin Spears. Justin, you make us proud, but where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find my work of covering Arizona football at Tucson.com, the Wildcaster mobile app. You can also follow me on X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it, at Justin E Sports. We have our Spears and Ali podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, buckle up, guys. It's going to be one hell of a season. I can't wait.
We just did our overtime. And by the way, Mike, I echo everything you just said. Justin, you know, for what, 28, 29 now? 29. His birthday's on July 4th. They shoot fireworks for his birthday every year across the country.
Yes. We're going to see him in Tahoe.
Just for Justin. And I just think that it's, man, couldn't be a better beat writer for Arizona football than Justin Spears. So echo everything you just said, Luke.
Thank you.
No,
you're welcome.
No, again, man, like I said, I remember when he was a wee, I'm aging myself here. I remember when he was a wee little lad, and now we're looking up to him. Justin, you're the man. Keep making us proud, buddy. And Ali, you keep being successful, buddy. I know it comes naturally to you, but keep doing what you're doing.
Someday I'm going to grow up and be just like you, Luke.
Oh, that's what we like. But on that note, like I said, for the best show going in Tucson, Spears and Ali, for Justin Spears, Ali Farhang, I am merely Mike Luke. We will be back with you on Monday. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.